Hey guys, Tom here from the Investing with Tom YouTube channel. Welcome back to the channel. If you enjoyed today's video, hit like, hit subscribe, and that way you can see future videos as well. So, this is an iPhone 8 Plus, which I bought about 18 months ago now. And when I walked into the shop and I purchased this phone, it cost me about $1,500 to buy the phone. It's a lot of money, obviously. The old phone that I had was completely crapped out. I really did need a new one, and I used this a lot, so I've got no regrets in terms of going out and making the purchase. But this is a video I want to do on opportunity cost and talking you through exactly how much it truly cost the future Tom to buy this iPhone. So let's get into that. If you understand opportunity cost, you probably knew what this video was going to be about the moment you saw the title and the thumbnail. But if not, let's get into it. This is probably the most powerful sort of personal finance and reducing your spending kind of mental hack that I have. So it is a cool one. Let's get into that. Very important concept to understand. So here we go. Alright, so first of all, I want to dive into some of the numbers behind how this phone actually had an opportunity cost for me of over $35,000. So I'm going to put up a screenshot here. At the time, the phone cost me, from memory, right around $1,400. I was 23 years old when I purchased that phone, and that meant I had around 42 years at the time left until I retire at the magic age of 65. And let's assume that instead of purchasing that phone, I actually went out and invested that into the stock market, into some sort of investment that was going to produce me around 8% per year compounded. So if we run through the numbers on that, at the end of that 42-year period, and when I am 65 years old, then that $1,400 initial investment with no other contributions would be worth right around $35,475.25. So that is the real key lesson of today's video, is that a dollar saved today is much more important to you than a dollar you might save in 10 years time, or in 20 years time, or in 30 years time. If you put that dollar to work today, it's going to have much more time to compound and grow and produce good investment results for you than a dollar that you might save in 5 years or 10 years or further down the track when you're a little bit closer to retirement. So it's really important to get this concept into your head young. Take it to heart. Some of my friends will be getting very annoyed with me at this point because anytime they talk to me about, I want to buy a new ute, or I want to go on this trip, or buy something that I don't really need, I'll often just reply to them straight up saying that's $250,000 for your future self that you're throwing away, and all this kind of thing. So that's the way I like to think about spending for things that I don't really need, that aren't essential in my life and aren't going to add a lot of value to me personally. And it's really important to get that into your head young and get started building these good habits young. So Warren Buffett, as you know, I'm a big Warren Buffett fan and all that sort of thing. And Warren Buffett has this quote, which I know is not from him originally, but Warren Buffett himself can't really remember where it came from, so I don't know where it came from either. And the quote goes something like this: "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken." And what Warren's essentially trying to say out of that video is to build good habits really early. And that has huge application to this particular video with opportunity cost. The earlier you can build good habits and not spend money on things that you don't need, just like I mentioned up in this video, or one of these corners, I'll link it up, a video on how I save a relatively high percentage of my income. One of the big things I talked about there was lifestyle creep. So if you don't know what lifestyle creep is, it's essentially your expenses just going up and up over time, usually going up anytime you start to earn more money. So basically, anytime most people get a pay rise, their expenses typically go up by pretty much the exact amount that their income went up. So if they were earning $50,000 a year and they're now earning $60,000 a year, then most people start to spend an extra $10,000 per year, less taxes and all that kind of stuff. but they essentially spend that extra money straight away. And when you look at how much they're saving and putting away for investments and for their future, the amount really doesn't change. And that has huge flow-on effects for what their retirement's going to look like, how their quality of life is going to look like in the later half of their life. And I think it's really important to understand and to remember that the dollars you earn when you're very young are the most important dollars to you financially. So build good habits early, avoid lifestyle creep. There's a big opportunity cost to that. If you're spending that $10,000 per year, that's going to be worth many multiples of that that you're detracting from your future self. And if you're not a fan of Warren Buffett, which I hope you are, but if you're not a fan of Warren Buffett, I personally am a fan of country music. So anyone that knows me will know I am pretty into country music. And just a couple of weeks ago, a guy called Luke Combs, who, if you're into country music, you will definitely know, released a new album, and he had this song called Dear Today. And Dear Today was essentially the song where the Luke Combs of tomorrow was singing to the Luke Combs of today, and basically telling him to sort his shit out. And I think opportunity cost is huge there as well. Luke Combs is a big beer drinking guy who just really likes to have a good time, and he was singing about things completely unrelated to finance. But I think it has a lot of application with many aspects of your life. The more that you leave things and drag things out and don't make the most of today to set up really well for your future self, can be pretty detrimental. And I think it's important to get these things sorted out early. So that's opportunity cost, and that's sort of the personal finance side of it. I just want to touch briefly on the way that Charlie Munger thinks about opportunity cost with his investment. If you've ever heard Charlie Munger talk about investments, and actually if you've ever heard Charlie Munger talk about business schools even more so, he'll often bring up this idea, which he thinks is just ridiculous, of something called cost of capital. And Charlie Munger is very sort of anti a lot of the lessons taught in business school with efficient market theory, or efficient market hypothesis, modern portfolio theory, all these different things, cost of capital and so on. And Charlie Munger likes to keep his thinking very simple when it comes to cost of capital, or opportunity cost as Charlie would call it. And essentially, Warren and Charlie have always had the philosophy that their opportunity cost when it comes to investments is always whatever return they expect to get from their second best idea. So what the heck does that mean? Essentially it means if Warren and Charlie have a couple of investments in their portfolio at one time, and let's say they expect to get a 10% return from one of those investments, then their opportunity cost for putting money elsewhere is 10% per year. So if they have money that just sits in cash and is making essentially no return, the opportunity cost of having that money there just sitting in cash is about 10% a year, if that's what they expect to earn from that investment. And whenever they look at a new potential investment, they have to say, okay, I can earn probably about 10% a year over here, so that means I have to earn more than 10% in this new investment. And it's one of the real primary reasons why Warren and Charlie run relatively concentrated portfolios. So you'll see that Berkshire Hathaway has about 25% of their entire stock market portfolio in Apple. And that's really because Apple was the best investment that Warren Buffett saw at the time. So he kept buying Apple, knowing that he was going to make maybe 10 to 12% per year over the very long term, somewhere in that ballpark. And he just found nothing else that could beat that. His opportunity cost was 10 to 12% a year because that was his best idea at the time with Apple. For that to become his second best idea, he needs to find something that can reliably crank out 14 or 15% per year, and he just didn't find it. And he obviously has a lot of cash at the moment to put to work, so he just continued buying Apple, and that's really the way that they've always done it, is they've focused their money right up in their best ideas. They've realized that there's an opportunity cost to diversifying into lower returning kind of assets, and that's been their approach, and it's worked very well. So that's just something I wanted to quickly talk through with opportunity cost as well. It's a very powerful concept if you can get it into your noggin. Recognize that those early dollars are worth much more than $1 to your future self. Think about opportunity cost with your investments. If you've got something that you think is going to do 15% per year, there's not really any need, in my mind at least, again, not financial advice, but there's not really any need, in my mind at least, to diversify massively into 5 other things that might only give you 5 or 6% a year. So that's it on opportunity cost. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit like, hit subscribe. That way you can see future videos as well. You can watch other videos over there. Hit subscribe over there if you haven't already. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Cheers.